This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Shane Mosley Jr. over Zoom. Shane, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. How about you?
I'm good. Obviously, we've just had like a little brief chat off of camera there, and obviously, aside from the madness that has gone on in the world for the past few months, everything's been okay. How have you found kind of the last 4 or 5 months?
Getting closer with my family, and then obviously training and things like that. But not a lot of social events or anything like that. So, just sticking with the family and training.
Everybody knows about how difficult kind of, being a professional boxer is. You spend a lot of time away from home when you're in camp, and you don't really get to spend that quality time with your family. How kind of precious have you found these few months, despite the madness? And I'm sure you'd rather it not be in this case, looking at the positive and the brighter side of life.
I think it was great, getting to spend time with my family and my close loved ones and things like that, and just really enjoying those times and moments together. I think is important.
Shane, obviously, this is your first time on the channel, and I know you are going to shoot off to the gym in a bit. I do kind of just want to reflect on kind of your route into boxing and that, and reflect on your amateur days. Everybody knows who your father is. I'm sure he had a big influence on your career so far. But just talk to me about kind of your earliest memory of the sport.
Oh man, my earliest memory of the sport is like going to my dad's fights, with him to the boxing gym. I mean, shoot, he used to pull me up in the stroller to the boxing gym, just like I do my kids. So it's quite interesting. I had my first fight when I was 16, going on 17, like literally like right before my 17th birthday. Like it was like December 17th, and my birthday is December 18th. So I had like my fight like the day before my 17th birthday. I once I had my first like sparring session with my own friends and things like that, aside from my father, my father didn't take me to go like actually work out. He would just take me just because I was with him and things like that. But when I actually went there to spar and train with myself, I realized that I loved it. And, how could you not love it if you always do it anyway? Like, you just always go to the boxing gym, always see people fighting, always do it. And then once you do it for yourself, you go, oh, I get it. I see why you like this. You know what I mean? I can see why you love this, So for me, I think that at 16, 17 was, that kind of aha moment. And then, fast forward, 13 years now, I'm still boxing.
Just before obviously we move on to kind of your professional career to date and what you have got lined up, just reflect on your amateur career for me and your recollections of it.
I remember my amateur career being very complex, just because like I felt like I wasn't where a lot of people thought I should have been, because a lot of people expected me to be like, just this, overpowering and just beat up everybody type of guy. And for me, I was just, kind of working my way through it, learning, beating, not looking at, taking beatings, things like that, just going through the sport. And I think a lot of times people thought that I should have been at a different level just because of who my father was. And they didn't look at it like, oh, he just started in boxing and, there's some growing to do. So I think that's kind of like where a lot of people thought. That everybody used to always say, oh, he's nothing like his father. He sucks. He's all this, that, and the third. And, who knows? They could be true. They could not be true. But, all that really matters is the consistency in working. I mean, it doesn't matter to suck. I mean, everybody sucks at something, in the beginning or at certain stages. So as long as you keep on moving forward and keep on progressing and keep on doing things that you need to do in order to win, I think that's what that's all that matters. So I definitely feel like I've grown, from that experience, and I have obviously grown to become one of Golden Boy's newest fighters, and to be fighting on their card at 15-3. You know what I mean? I've had a pretty decently long career. I mean, 6 years being a professional. Like I said, I've had my ups and my downs, but I'm where I am now. So I think that's all that matters. You know what I mean? The losses, everything like that. People say whatever they want to say. You just keep pushing forward. You keep on moving, and you work towards your goal. And my goal is to be a world champion. And I think Golden Boy is a perfect place for me to be, because they obviously know how to move their fighters.
I'm sure you've been asked this question many and many of times, but especially when you were starting out at the beginning of your career, did you feel the pressure to live up to what your dad had achieved before? Did you feel the pressure to kind of take over from his legendary status?
No, I didn't feel any pressure of doing that. I remember like my dad telling me when I first had my first amateur fight, he said, look, if you're gonna do it, you got to do it. You know what I mean? Like you can't play with this, and this is yours. It's not mine. This is your career. And that says a lot. You know what I mean? Because I know that he understood that if I was going to do it, and I understand now more than ever that nobody can make you anything. You know what I mean? Like, just because I got the name Shane Mosley Jr. doesn't mean that's going to help me with anything. I have to do this for myself. So I can't live for him. I can't live for anybody but myself. And hopefully, they're proud, but I can't live for anybody but Shane Mosley Jr.
What kind of are your own goals, or were your own goals in particular when you started out in the sport? Then did you set yourself, lofty ambitions to what your dad's were and what your dad wanted to achieve, or did you kind of just want to take it fight by fight and see what you could achieve in the sport in your own right?
To be honest, I just want to see, what I can do for myself and become a world champion on my own terms.
Obviously, let's talk about your professional career so far. You mentioned 15-3. What have been your thoughts on kind of, firstly, when you go back to your first fight as a professional, kind of that transition from amateur to professional style?
Oh, I was scared shitless. I'm sorry if that, but yeah, I was so scared. It's kind of funny now, but I had I think I even fought an amateur fight a few months before, a month or so before I had my first professional fight, and I was just scared shitless. I was like, oh my God, it's gonna be different. I don't have headgear on. And when I got in there, I'm like, oh, that's not different. That's the same thing. It's why was I even panicking about this? But I think just because, a lot of times people put a lot of pressure on themselves because, they want to, be perfect. They want to be and do a certain thing. We all have this idea of you can't fuck up because the only way to be great is to not fuck up, or not do anything wrong. So, but that's, like I said, that's all that mental bull that you play with your head.
You mentioned at the beginning of your answer, obviously there was no head guards, and you do obviously have 8-ounce gloves, smaller gloves to what you're used to in comparison to the amateurs. What was it like when you was hit for the first time, with obviously without the protection of a head guard and then being hit by the smaller gloves?
Honestly, I don't feel like it's much different. I mean, you see people get knocked out with headgear all the time. I mean, especially in these sparring videos. And it happens, people get knocked out with headgear all the time. So I don't feel like it's much of a difference. I feel like it's more of a mental, thing. But if you get hit good, you get hit good. And if you get hit good enough, you can go out by anybody. So I don't really think it makes a difference. I think once you kind of put that past you, it's all fighting. You know what I mean? Like as an amateur, as a pro, if you get in the ring, you got to be prepared to, do whatever you have to do to come out victorious.
Just a word on sparring videos, man. Obviously, you just mentioned that, and we do know of some heavy knockdowns during sparring sessions with head guards on. But we obviously just recently saw a video Gervonta Davis put out of a sparring session he did. Just what are your thoughts on people sharing sparring footage?
I think if that's what you want to do, you know what I mean? Like you can do it. I don't really think it's necessary to put out sparring videos, but if you want to do it and show people like what you're capable of and all those things, or if it really just doesn't matter to you, cool. But I don't think that they're like, as a fighter, like that should be necessarily put out. I mean, maybe just because like I've been around my dad, I've been around a lot of like other great fighters, and that was kind of their philosophy. Don't put out don't video this, don't do that type of thing. So I think it might be just an old way of thinking by my terms, but who knows.
Obviously, and just moving back to yourself now, you haven't fought since August of last year.
Yeah.
Well, a while away from ring, obviously, these past few months, it's nothing you could do about it, nothing anyone could do about it. But when you do get back into ring on July 24th, do you feel there will be that ring rust? Do you think you will kind of have to shake off those cobwebs in your first bout back?
No, I don't think that there is going to be any ring rust. I mean, I've been preparing to fight for a very long time. Just about a year I've been preparing to fight. With the deal going through with Golden Boy, and I was supposed to have a fight on April 25th. We're hoping to have a fight before then. So like I had never stopped fighting. Like I told you before, I constantly do this. I'm always training. I'm always, working on being the best that I can be. So no, I don't feel like there's going to be any ring rust. I think that I'm going to do my best and I'm going to shine. That's what I think.
Talking about obviously that deal with Golden Boy, what did it mean to yourself to obviously sign that and to have a big promoter behind you pushing you on further?
Oh, it was a great feeling, man. It was kind of an honor, especially like even when I signed the Golden Boy bag in the office, it was kind of like a surreal feeling. You see all the names that have been on that thing. I signed right by my dad's name. It was just like a cool feeling. So it was an honor for me to be a part of that, be a part of a great promotional company, and to just grow from there. And it was a great accomplishment for me because, to be honest, it shows that they see value in me that I have put up, not just because of my dad, not just because of anything that my dad did. I made that 15-3 career. So the career that I have, I made, not my dad. And Golden Boy saw the value in that. And I think that was great.
What is the plan that Golden Boy have laid out for you? We know you're out on July 24th, but moving beyond that, how do they see the coming year or so of your career playing out?
Well, I think the plan is to be honest, to see how this whole pandemic works out, man. Everybody's kind of uncertain on what we're going to do. I mean, obviously, I'd like to have 3-4 fights this year, but that's cutting it real close, especially because we only got 5 more months left in the year. So you know what I mean. So I think it's kind of hard to say, but if all goes well, we fight as many times as we can this year and put myself in a good position to get at least ranked in the top 10 in one of the organizations.
What should we all expect from you on the 24th? What should all the fans expect to see from you on the 24th of July?
I expect them to see a great performance. I'm going to show what I've been working on, and just going to put on a great performance. I'm going to shine.
Just to move away from yourself, obviously I have to ask, because he's your father, he's obviously a legend of the sport, but when you was growing up, what's kind of your memories of watching your dad boxing?
Man, I used to think my dad was Superman. To be honest, growing up, man, when I would see him fight and see some of the things that he could do, I'd be like, man, this guy's incredible, like he's not human. I remember he used to even swim, just regular stuff. He could swim from one end of the thing and back all underwater. And we had a pretty long pool. It was not so he could swim all the way there and all the way back underwater without breathing. And I thought that was pretty incredible. I just thought my dad was Superman.
For you to watch his fights, we know of other others who are involved in the sport whose fathers were also involved. They've said they may not have liked it, but they liked to obviously see their dad take punches. Was you in the other side of the court? Was you there just kind of behind him all the way, just loving watching him in the ring, or was it hard for you to watch your dad?
I used to love watching my dad fight. Of course, I would get nervous. I mean, obviously, people get nervous when they can't control, something, right? Obviously, I know a lot of fighters that say, I'm more nervous when, my friends and family fight than when I fight. And it's because the reason being is because you can control the outcome when you fight, or at least you think that you can control what's going on. And when you're fighting, and so, yes, I used to love watching him fight. I used to get crazy, and just go nuts, mess him up, whatever the case is. But yeah, of course, in the back of my mind and head, I was always nervous. I was there for the first time that he lost, which was with Vernon Forrest, and I was so upset. I felt like I lost. I felt like I was tearing like no other. And but that never stopped me supporting. That never stopped anything. I always supported him and loved to see him fight, win or lose.
Your father obviously had a wonderful and brilliant career throughout. But for you, what was your fondest memory of that he went on to achieve in the sport?
I think one of the biggest things that he did in the sport was to beat Oscar De La Hoya. I think that obviously that is the fight that made him a mainstream name in boxing, that made him kind of solidified his name and everybody, and that was a big moment for me and my family and everybody. Obviously there were other fights that were just as good and big, but that is the one that really kind of set the stage.
Was that ever joked about, obviously, when you signed with Golden Boy? Has anyone brought up?
No, nobody brought it up. It's funny that you bring it up, but nobody brought it up.
I'm trying to get you in trouble, Shane. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, just to move back to yourself, I forgot to ask you earlier on. You mentioned you do have those ambitions to challenge for a world title. What are your thoughts on the world scene at middleweight?
I think that there's a lot of good fighters out in middleweight. I think that it's a deep weight as far as the talent that's there, and I'm willing to be in that mix. But the plan is to actually go down to 154 pounds. Yeah. So this fight, you know, I'm gonna fight at 160 because it was kind of last minute, but eventually I want to fight for 154 and then move up to 160. So these guys are definitely not out of, you know, out of my view, of course. But the plan is to be at 154 and then move up to 160.
The light middleweight scene or the super welterweight scene, whichever one you prefer, it's very open at the minute. Nobody over these past few years has really put a stamp on the division. You know, we've seen titles changing hands quite frequently. Do you feel that this is a perfect opportunity then, knowing that you're dropping down into that division, to kind of try to steal your way in and kind of make a march onto the division?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, there's a lot of good talent there, and I think that's why there's a lot of switching of the guards. But I do feel like it is open at the moment, and that's one of the reasons why I want to compete there.
Just final thing that, before I let you go, Shane, just to touch back onto your fight on the July 24th card, just talk to me about your opponent and what should we expect from a pair of you when you are in the ring?
Well, my opponent is Jeremy Ramos. He's a good fighter. He's battle tested. He's definitely fought some good prospects. His record isn't that flashy, but if you look on the resume, he has a lot of good fighters, and when you watch him fight, he's a decent fighter. He has good skills. Very, very much so somebody I have to be, you know, very, very aware of, as far as, you know, he's coming to win. You know what I mean? He's not just one of those guys that are in there just to fall over and you know, just give you an easy win. He's actually somebody there that's trying to win. I think he has an upset over Nico, the Rooster. Yeah, that he has a win over that guy. I can't think of his name right now, but he has an upset win over him, a split decision. And you know, I mean, you know, he has a few losses, but the thing is he's a decent fighter. He's coming to win, and he has good skill. So I have to be very prepared and very aware of what's going on. But I feel like I have the abilities, the attributes, the awareness to beat him.
Shane.
And I feel like, hold on, sorry, my bad. I feel like I will come out victorious and shine.
Shane, it's been a pleasure to speak to you for the first time today. Before I do leave you to go to the gym and enjoy the rest of your day, though, what would you like to say to everyone who tunes in to watch our interview?
Oh, man, I want to say thank you. Tune in to DAZN. It's going to be, you know, brought to you by Golden Boy Promotions and sorry, I said DAZN, Fantasy Springs. So thank you. Thank you.
Talk to you. Stay safe, and I'm sure I'll speak to you soon. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thanks.